Happy Monday, good people. Welcome to another edition of Double the Innocence with your boy E-Dub. Gem dropper and a definite showstopper. How about them NBA playoffs, people? Before we get into anything that really amuses and tickles my heart, before we get into all that, we need to talk about the overall NBA playoffs. How are you guys feeling about the first round so far? I made some predictions, and on a percentage-wise, I would have to say so far, my predictions are about 70% correct. Maybe a little bit better, but right at this particular point in time, they're about 70% correct. The series, a couple of series that's really shocking me, that Indiana Pacers series versus the Milwaukee Bucks. I had picked Milwaukee to win that series. But realistically speaking, when Indiana wants to play, they're a very good team. And they look like they're showing up to play in this playoffs right here. No word of a lie. They've got a pretty decent stranglehold on Milwaukee Bucks, 3-1, which is pretty impressive. It was something that was not expected. And right now, I believe Milwaukee's in trouble. No word of a lie. You got the Houston Rockets. They're in a little bit of a dogfight, yes. But I do believe that they could squeak that series out, though. Even though I picked Golden State to win that. The reason why I think that they could squeak it out is because Golden State is missing Jimmy Butler right now. And I don't think Golden State could be as effective as they really could be without Jimmy Butler on that squad. In my humble personal opinion. Because Jimmy Butler, we know what he's capable of doing, especially in the playoffs. Let's talk about your Lakers, man. I mean, I was trying my best to avoid that part of it because, I don't want nobody to think I'm piling on. But let's talk about the Los Angeles Lakers. And the reason why I could afford to talk about them is because I picked them to win this series. But right now, they're battling 3-1. And if you ask me my personal opinion, if they're relying on a 40-year-old superstar to get them over that hump, then this series is basically over. There's no reason why LeBron James should be playing so many minutes, even though, hold on, let me rephrase what I'm saying. In a perfect world, there'd be no way in hell LeBron James would be playing as many minutes as he's playing at his age. In a perfect world. No matter what team he was on. On this specific team, unfortunately, they need him to play those minutes if they even want to be in the games. But before we go any further, I need to ask one question. And maybe this question is going to go out to the old heads. The guys that grew up in my era watching basketball. Is there any such thing as a pivot foot anymore? Because realistically speaking, with some of the moves I see these guys making, back in my day, the pivot foot was a foot that had to be planted. And once that foot was planted, you could not move that particular foot. You could go around in circles, but that foot had to be planted. Now I see guys planting their feet, but when they need to make a move or whatever the case be, that pivot foot is moved. And there's no traveling being called. So is traveling one of the things that's been taken out of basketball? Because I rarely see that call being made. And I see a hell of a lot more traveling being done in today's game than ever before. In my personal humble opinion. I notice that the game is a lot more physical right now, which is to be expected in the NBA playoffs. But this type of physicality, the main reason why they got to let that go is because right now the players have to adjust, have to figure out what they could get away with in the playoffs. And because of the mere fact of the matter that the rules were so different during the regular season, you can kind of see what kind of mess it is. Because when somebody has their arm fully around you, that's a foul, no matter what the case may be. We're playing basketball, not football here. So, during the regular season, they're calling touch fouls. You put your hand out there and you extend and touch somebody, they're calling that a foul. Now, people are going to the rim and they're basically getting mugged, but there's no foul. Because the main reason why they're not calling the fouls is because defense has to be part of any playoff game. But a lot of these players have forgotten exactly how to play fundamental defense because they get bailed out by the whistle. A lot of defensive players don't know exactly what they can and can't do because practically everything is a foul during the regular season. So the fact that they're getting away with it now in the playoffs, okay, I got away with it that time. They're going to add a little bit more the next time to see exactly how far they can push the envelope before the whistle starts to get blown. Now, I'm kind of surprised because Minnesota's battling. They're not only battling the Los Angeles Lakers, they're also battling the refs because as far as I'm concerned, Los Angeles is getting the benefit of those whistles. But it's still not helping them. Now, I'm a firm believer, unfortunately. Like, realistically speaking, I'm coming out on a limb and I'm saying it. I personally believe that this series is over. I cannot see the Los Angeles Lakers winning 4 straight. I can't see it. Minnesota just has to win 1 more. So even if they go back to Los Angeles and Los Angeles wins that game, which is what I'm expecting them to do, the very next game they're going back to Minnesota, and I really believe that that's going to be the last of the Lakers. Now, the question I have to ask individuals is, do you believe that if the Lakers get eliminated in the first round, that heads should roll out there in LA? Do you believe that JJ Redick should be held accountable for the mere fact of the matter that he could not get the Lakers out of the first round? It's a food for thought. It's a question that has to be put out there. I gotta ask that question because we're not keeping nothing real whatsoever. I don't understand why it is that you have the Lakers down 3-1 against the Minnesota Timberwolves, where you got, according to stats, according to numbers and all that kind of stuff, 2 of the greatest players on one team, which is Luka and LeBron. You're down 3-1, facing elimination. And there's nobody out here talking anything about the coaching that's being done out there in LA. There's not a mention about it. On mainstream media, that is. If you want to listen and find honesty, you got to come to social media in order to find it. You can't rely on those guys to give you anything honest. Because if they were actually being honest, they would hold who needs to be held accountable. JJ Redick, like I said, he came into the season being introduced to the public as a young Einstein of the NBA. Now, Mr. Young Einstein, where are your Bobby Genius in-game adjustments? Where are they? We're waiting. You want to come out afterwards and cry about the mere fact of the matter that a foul wasn't called on Luka because in your eyes he was tripped. If you ask me, he was tripped. He tripped over his own 2 feet. But there you are, you're bitch whining and complaining at the mere fact of the matter that a foul wasn't called. Why don't we talk about the mere fact of the matter that you had Anthony Edwards that came out there and he was wetting you guys up and you made absolutely no adjustments to stop him? Why not talk about that? But yet still, you don't hear nothing from the Kendrick Perkins of the world about JJ Redick's coaching. You don't hear very much from Stephen A's of the world about JJ Redick's coaching. Or his lack of. It really doesn't make that much sense to me. Because I'm a firm believer. The same way I was picking Detroit, which is another series that unfortunately I really thought Detroit was going to actually come out of this series, but now New York looks like they have a pretty good stranglehold on it. But I was under the impression that if by chance Detroit did beat or does beat the New York Knicks in the first round, I personally believe that Tibbs, there's a possibility that it might cost Tibbs his job. Now, because of the mere fact of the matter that they have a 3-1 stranglehold on that series, I think he's added a couple of lifelines onto his coaching job, in my humble opinion. But I truly believe that if he had gotten eliminated in the first round, he was going to be one of those coaches that they were going to be thinking about letting go. And unfortunately, I truly believe that if the Lakers get eliminated in the first round, JJ Redick's name has to be added to that list of coaches that need to be eliminated. Plain and simple. We're not going to sugarcoat it. I mean, if they get eliminated, I'm not going to listen to people sit down here and try to blame everybody else on the Hachimuras of the world or the Austin Reeves of the world. I'm not going to listen to all that nonsense. You have 2 superstars on your team. Not just 2 stars, 2 superstars on your team. And a young Einstein for a head coach. So the only people that are going to be held accountable and responsible if the Lakers get eliminated are those 3 individuals right there. And with that being said, people, I want you guys to share. I need you guys to like and subscribe to this channel. Help this channel grow. Double the Innocence with your boy E-Dub is out. Have yourself a blessed day, people. Deuces.